At this point, I would like to give a brief theory lesson, so you don't have to follow along. I just would like to talk about topology. Here, this little glasses detail shows us how quick the topology can become cluttered. Here there are tons of fillets and edges and whatnot. That is the reason why I always try to keep the edges at the minimum level. And that is also the reason why I don't work on one side and mirror it to the other side. Then I will get again a redundant edge here at the middle. And I want to avoid these redundant edges from the get-go. So let's duplicate this head. I mean, I will duplicate it. You don't have to follow along. Shift D, G, X. Let's make something like 3. Here is also a redundant edge. And if I run the delete redundant topology command, you see that this edge remains because this is, like I said in another situation, this is one of the structural edges which can't be deleted. They were created while running this Boolean command. So we cannot get rid of this unless we resurface it. And I will do this and I will show you also the reason for this edge. Second reason why I do this theory lesson is I want you to know why there are some edges at several places. So I want you to have complete control over your model. So therefore I will resurface this guy, and this time I will do the exact same operations but avoid this edge. I go to face mode, select these two faces and Shift X, I delete them. And then in edge mode, I loop select this edge with Alt and press Shift X. And at this point, be careful, as soon as you untrim a solid, it becomes a sheet. No matter if there aren't any boundary edges. So even if you run the boundary edges command, so F boundary edges, which is useful for finding some holes or errors in your model, there aren't any open holes or any type of errors. This is watertight, but nevertheless, it is classified as a sheet as soon as you start to untrim a solid. But there is a quick fix. I don't know. It must be a bug of the program. I'm not sure. Shift X. I delete this face, a simple face. I select it, press Shift J for repatching it in G0 continuity, and look what happens as soon as I press OK. It becomes again a solid. But that's just a side note. So let's keep on rebuilding this part. So from front view, I will first make this Boolean. I select this detail, Shift deduplicate it, GX3, so that it is at the same location as this guy. And now I press Shift H for isolating this cutter. And in face mode, I simply drag this face out, so I have something like this. The initial cutter, as you remember, which we have used at the beginning. And this is still a solid. Run the slice command. So first select the target body, then shift select the cutter, press Q, Shift Q for running the slice command right away, press OK, delete the redundant stuff in solid mode, go to face mode, select this face so that offset face pops up right away, drag it. I guess we had something like something like 0.03, I guess. So we have this first thing. Okay, now comes the important part of this lecture. So Shift D, GX3, so that we can duplicate this curve at the exact same position as here. So let's have a look at this curve. So if we select it in edge mode, it looks as it is a single object. But if you unjoin it, pressing Alt J, look what happens here. The single object is divided into 3 objects here. So joining is not the same as merging. If you select multiple curves and press J for join, you basically group them. They are not merged as one object. So that's why when you in face mode, select this face and drag out a solid, look what happens. The edges on where the single curves are divided will appear also on the solid. And this edge will appear here. So you see that a simple thing, a simple detail like this will follow you throughout your workflow, and you will have an uninteresting and redundant and maybe in some cases a problematic edge which could be avoided in the first place. There are two ways to avoid this edge. The first one is create a duplicate of this curve and simply loft these two curves, pressing L. Press OK, and here you see that there aren't any redundant edges. And then you can simply press Shift J for patching both ends, and you have a solid, and you can boolean with this one. And the second method is rebuilding this curve, so making this a real single curve. If we run the rebuild command, so press F, look for rebuild, we can basically recreate this curve. If we change the method to points, it doesn't work with refit, but it works with points. Now it looks wobbly. Raise up the point count. So let's say something like 200. Now you can see that we have a really detailed curve. And if we press OK, and if we now press Alt J for unjoin, nothing happens because now it is a real single curve. And if you now in face mode select this face and drag out, extrude a solid, you will see that this one is also clean. And then you can use this one to run your boolean. That's what I will do. So I will drag it out furthermore. And then I already have laid out these lines. These lines will be my guiding lines. So in object mode, I select these two lines, the main body and the cutter. Press Shift H, look from the side view. Select this guy. I will also enable X-ray mode. G. That's a new feature in plasticity. We can disable the faces, which comes in handy in this case. And now I can rotate, pressing R twice. Now I will change the pivot of the rotation, pressing R, V, putting it here. I will enable again the faces. And I think that's okay. So let's select the target body, Shift select the cutter, then Q, Shift Q for running the Boolean slice command. Let's delete this redundant stuff. And here you can see that we have a clean surface here without any redundant edges. So you can follow along this step if that makes you happy, but it's not that important. I just wanted to show you how you can avoid redundant edges from the get-go. And I wanted to talk a little bit about topology and about fake single curves, which aren't single at all. So you can keep these details in mind while modeling. That looks okay.